Commander Ilara Grant examined the odd device in her hands, turning it over like someone might study a suspiciously ticking toaster. The Valkyrie delegation had handed these things to humanity 3 months ago. Sleek metallic cylinders about the size of a police baton, each one humming with faint internal energy. Primitive kinetic accelerators. The Valkyrie ambassador had called them with the kind of tone one might reserve for teaching toddlers to stack blocks. Appropriate for your technological stage. Point, activate, projectile launches. Very simple. The humans had accepted the gifts with courteous nods and tightly restrained eyebrows. No one said it aloud, but most of them suspected they'd just been handed space slingshots. Initial field tests had only deepened their skepticism. The rods fired small metal pellets, no bigger than ball bearings, at velocities comparable to hunting rifles. Captain Malik DuPont, part of Ilara's security unit, had tried his out on a training dummy. "Seriously," he muttered, giving the device a shake. "My old Glock has more bite than this thing." "Maybe that's intentional," Ilara replied, her background in engineering making her voice sharp with suspicion. "They want us armed just enough. Enough to do their grunt work, not enough to be a threat." The Valkyrie had positioned Earth as a junior partner in the Galactic Consortium. Humanity could manage border patrols on underdeveloped worlds, act as peacekeepers on unruly mining colonies roles requiring muscle, not power. The so-called gifts were meant to keep humans in their place, capable but controllable. A soft crackle came through Ilara's communicator. "Commander Grant," the voice said, urgent and clipped. "We have incoming, multiple unidentified contacts. Approaching Colony Theta 9 at high speed." Her blood went cold, thought the Valkyrie fleet massive sleek warships longer than skyscrapers. Wertal was arriving early. 50 ships in all, each one bristling with planetary siege weapons. And Theta 9, a mining colony supposedly under Earth's protection, was in their CROSSHAIRS. It should have been a slaughter. Ilara's squad, just 20 Marines strong, stood no chance. But orders were orders. As the first Valkyrie soldiers dropped to the colony's surface, Ilara found herself face to face with a warrior that looked like a chrome-plated tank on legs 3 meters tall, armored in something that shimmered like black ice. She raised Valkyrie rod, aimed, and pressed the activation stud. The pellet shot forward. For a beat, nothing happened. Then the alien simply vanished, not crumpled, not blasted, just erased. As if he'd been drawn in pencil and someone had wiped him off the page. "What the hell?" DuPont shouted behind her, then raised his own rod and fired at a cluster of charging Valkyrie, 1 pellet. 6 targets, all gone in a blink like dominoes made of vapor. Across the field, voices crackled across comms with similar reports. The primitive kinetic weapons weren't launching bullets. They were firing dark matter packets, projectiles that ignored armor, atoms, logic itself. Each one a pinpoint of quantum annihilation. Ilara stared at the weapon in her hand, then at the battlefield. The Valkyrie had miscalculated badly. Within minutes, the Valkyrie assault force began to collapse. Sergeant Vikotan, crouched behind a collapsed drill rig, watched in disbelief as another squad of alien infantry blinked out of existence mid-charge. "They're not even dying," he muttered into the comms. "They're just gone. No bodies, no wreckage. Just air." Ilara ducked behind a cargo container and peeked out to assess the chaos. "I think we've been played," she whispered. "Played?" DuPont responded, gunning down another trio of warriors who'd tried to flank them. "They gave us planet wipers and didn't even realize it." "No," Ilara said grimly. "They did realize it. But they didn't think we'd know how to use them, or that we'd need to." All across the colony's rocky surface, human soldiers had dropped conventional weapons in favor of the Valkyrie rods. The devices initially dismissed as underpowered had become weapons of unstoppable erasure. Nothing short of cosmic disassembly. One Marine accidentally fired into the colony's old atmospheric tower during a scuffle. The entire structure vanished, metal, bolts, scaffolding, and even the dust cloud it kicked up without so much as a sound. "Holy hell," muttered Specialist Nyla Reese as she stared at the empty patch where it once stood. "This thing's not firing bullets, it's unraveling matter." Even Valkyrie ships in low orbit had started to veer off, clearly receiving panicked updates from ground forces. A few of them opened fire in retaliation, their beam weapons carving molten scars into the rocky terrain. But it was too late. The humans had seen what the rods could really do. "Advance," Ilara ordered. "We push them off the plateau and take control of the drop zone." The squad surged forward, their dark matter weapons punching holes through elite alien troopers like paper. Screams filled the Cum's Valkyrie voices for once, filled with fear instead of smug certainty. Then silence, not just the absence of combat. A stunned, vacuum-like quiet as the last of the Valkyrie ground team disappeared. Ilara held her breath, then slowly lowered her weapon. "Status?" she asked. "All targets eliminated," Sergeant Tan confirmed. "No casualties on our side." DuPont exhaled hard. "We just wiped out an elite invasion force using what they thought were party favors." "Correction," Ilara said. "They handed us precision doomsday devices. And they're realizing that now." As if summoned by her words, her communicator buzzed. "Incoming transmission." The screen lit up with the sharp, chiseled features of Valkyrie Ambassador Dres Taller. Normally the Valkyrie were known for their icy calm, always dignified, always detached. But Dres looked like someone had poured cold panic into his bloodstream. "Commander Grant," he said tightly, "we've received troubling reports regarding the conflict at Theta 9. Our monitoring stations detected a sudden, unexplained energy signature consistent with mass vaporization. Can you confirm the use of any unconventional technology during this engagement?" Ilara paused, letting the question hang in the air like a challenge. She looked around at her squad. They were bruised, dirty, and still trying to process what had just happened. Slowly, she raised a rod into frame. "We used only the equipment your delegation provided us, Ambassador," she said, keeping her tone steady. "The so-called kinetic accelerators worked exactly as you described. Point, activate, projectile launches. Simple." The ambassador's jaw clenched. Behind him, blurry silhouettes were moving hurriedly, clearly a diplomatic or military. "Emergency unfolding in real time." "I see," he finally replied. "Perhaps we should arrange a diplomatic discussion regarding maintenance protocols for these devices. It appears there may have been a calibration error." Ilura's lips curled into a slow, satisfied smile. "Of course. We're more than happy to talk about maintenance." The transmission ended in a blink. DuPont let out a sharp laugh. "Calibrations, my ass. They thought we were cavemen with ray guns. Now they're scared." "Good," Ilara said. "Let them be." In a span of one battle, the narrative had shifted. Humanity wasn't a junior partner anymore. They weren't even a rising power. They were something new. Something unpredictable. Something dangerous. Asterisk. The days that followed were quiet, but not because peace had been restored. Ilara Grant sat in her command post on Theta 9, staring at the Valkyrie rod lying on the table before her. It looked deceptively plain. No glowing panels or complex triggers. Just a polished metallic baton, humming faintly like a dormant storm. And yet, she had watched it erase entire squadrons of elite soldiers from existence. Lieutenant Reese entered. Quietly, her boots clicking against the metal floor. "Commander, you should see this," she said, handing over a datapad. "Intercepted Valkyrie chatter. Their fleet's on high alert. They've quarantined 2 sectors and suspended all deployments near human territories." Ilara scanned the transcript, her brows tightening. They're scared we'll retaliate. They're scared we might already be planning it. Are we? Rhys asked carefully. Alara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she picked up the rod and turned it in her hands, studying every curve, every seam. Do you know what bothers me most about this? She said finally. They gave these to us knowing we'd underestimate them, that we wouldn't unlock their potential unless we were desperate. Rhys tilted her head. A test? No, Alara said. A leash. The Valkyrie wanted us to feel powerful, but only in the way they allowed. What they didn't expect was for us to actually be in danger and push these things to their limit. She stood and walked to the viewport. Outside, her team was performing drills with the rods, now treating them with reverence instead of disdain. They treated us like children, Alara muttered. But they handed us matches and forgot the house was made of fuel. At that moment, DuPont entered, his face tight with urgency. We've got a situation. Another Valkyrie ship entered orbit. They're requesting a face-to-face diplomatic visit. Here? Alara narrowed her eyes. That's bold. They say it's just a science envoy, small crew, no weapons online. Probably here to assess what we know about the devices. Or to find a way to take them back, Rhys added. Alara nodded. Let's meet them, but keep our rods in hand. The Valkyrie shuttle touched down with calculated grace. From it emerged a trio of tall, expressionless scientists in flowing metallic robes. At their center stood an older Valkyrie with silver ridges along his scalp, a sign of seniority in their caste system. I am Arch-Engineer Velthor Morn, he announced. I've come to ensure the devices you were given are functioning properly. These units were never meant to leave Valkyrie oversight. There may be side effects. Alara motioned toward her squad. Every Marine had a rod holstered openly at their side. They're working very well, actually, she said with a cool smile. We're still learning just how effective they are. Would you care for a demonstration? Velthor's eye ridges switched slightly. There is no need. In fact, we recommend you cease use until we can install safety protocols. DuPont stepped forward. Oh, you mean the safety protocols that didn't exist when we were being attacked by your fleet? Velthor's voice tightened. That engagement was unauthorized. A rogue fleet acting without council sanction. Alara folded her arms. So either you lost control of your own forces or you used us as bait. Either way, we're not handing these back. A tense silence followed. Velthor finally exhaled. Then at least let us study the battle logs. We need to understand how the dark matter destabilizers behaved under combat stress. You mean how we made your secret weapons work better then? You expected, Alara said. You thought we wouldn't figure them out. You were wrong. He hesitated, then gave a slight nod. The accelerators were designed with several locks in place, he admitted. Your kind should not have been able to activate the secondary dispersion layers, but under stress, your minds must have overridden the limitations, Rhys blinked. Wait, you built them to respond to emotions? Intent, Velthor corrected. The devices measure quantum will, focus, purpose, and yours. Apparently exceeds the thresholds we modeled. Alara didn't smile, but something dangerous flickered in her eyes. Next time you hand someone a loaded gun, make sure you understand who's holding it. Velthor nodded slowly. We will report back and advise our council accordingly. As the Valkyrie returned to their shuttle, Alara looked down at the rod in her hand again. What else could it do? Asterisk, the Valkyrie shuttle departed without incident, but the message had been sent. Humanity wasn't to be underestimated again. Alara Grant stood on the command balcony as the stars blinked overhead. Theta 9 was quiet now, the mining crew slowly returning to work under heavy protection, and human diplomats were scrambling to catch up with the new reality. Earth had been handed a weapon too, powerful for even its creators to fully understand. She looked down at the rod on her belt. It had once been an alien joke, A toy. Now it was a symbol. DuPont walked up beside her. You think they're coming back? Oh, they'll come back, Ilara said. But not with weapons this time. With treaties, conditions, maybe offers. Or demands, he said grimly. They're scared. And scared people make bad choices, she said. Especially ones who thought they were in charge. Her communicator chimed. A secure channel. From Earth Command. Ilara, came General Anaya Vuss's voice, clear and firm. I trust you've been briefed on the situation. The Council's requesting immediate review of all Zeph correction Valkyrie tech. Especially these accelerators. We're already working on that, Ilara said. Our engineers are reverse engineering the devices. It's not easy. But we're making progress. Good, Vuss replied. Because other species are asking questions. Some think this was a fluke. Others think we've been hiding our own weapons tech. Either way, humanity is no longer seen as harmless. Ilara looked out over the horizon. We never were. They just weren't paying attention. Vos was silent a moment. Then, we'll send reinforcements to Theta 9, but from now on, your team is the front line of deterrence. Use those weapons carefully. Of course, Ilara said, ending the call. She turned back to DuPont. What's the mood among the troops? He shrugged. A mix of excitement and paranoia. Some are calling these rods God sticks. Others are afraid to touch them. Honestly, I don't blame them. Fear is good, she said. It keeps us from getting reckless. But we need to be clear about one thing. We didn't win because we were more advanced. We won because they underestimated how far humans will go when backed into a corner. Sergeant Tan joined them, a grin look on his face. Commander, you'll want to see this. New intel from Deep Space Array 9. Valkyrie fleets are repositioning across 5 sectors. And they're not the only ones. The Trinvex Alliance just sent out a broadcast questioning our ethical readiness for advanced technology. Let them talk, Ilara said. They were happy to let us die quietly on the edge of their empire. Now they're worried we might shout back. Reese joined them last, carrying a datapad. Commander, we've completed a deep scan of the rod's internal architecture. It's not just a weapon, it's modular. Ilara's eyebrows lifted. Modular how? There. Are layers functions we haven't activated. One appears to manipulate gravity fields. Another might be for energy projection. There's even something that looks like a communication relay, but on frequencies we don't understand. They gave us Swiss Army black holes, DuPont muttered. More like Pandora's batons. Reese replied. Ilara ran her fingers along the rod's smooth metal surface. We're sitting on top of something that could shift galactic balance forever. And all because they thought we were too dumb to notice. Tan added. The comms crackled again. This time it was an open-channel Valkyrie ambassador Dres Taller. Ilara Grant, he said formally. After much deliberation, the Valkyrie High Council wishes to propose a revised partnership with humanity, one of mutual respect. Is that what we're calling it now? Ilara asked dryly. Taller ignored the jab. We acknowledge that prior assumptions about your species were in error. The Council now considers humanity a strategic peer. We hope this new understanding can lead to cooperative development rather than conflict. Ilara waited a beat. Agreed, she said at last. We're open to partnership. But we have conditions, of course. First, she said, you tell every other species exactly what happened here. No spin, no excuses. They deserve to know that you tried to control us and failed. That's a bold request, Taller said. I'm not requesting, she said. Second, we want full access to all Valkyrie tech related to these weapon schematics. Energy sources, everything. If we're going to wield them, we'll understand them ourselves. And third, she looked straight into the comms camera. Never lie to us again. A long silence followed. Then, Understood. The channel closed. Alara exhaled slowly. Humanity had just stepped out of the nursery and into the ring. But now, they weren't alone. They were armed with knowledge, weapons, and most of all respect earned through sheer survival. The Valkyrie had tried to give Earth a leash. Instead, they handed them the keys to the kingdom. Asterisk.